Wow, have a look at the daily price action, not only on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but also on the S&P and the Nasdaq. All three markets have gone through some form of a daily capitulation. You can see right here, beginning with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we closed down close to 300 points on the daily candlestick, 292 to be precise. This is awfully looking like some form of a double top. You can see right here we rallied back up into resistance for the first time to begin the month of March. We've pulled back down to the Fibonacci retracement box. We've rallied back up most recently, albeit a very volatile rally, and we didn't even have the stamina to get back up to the relative swing high going back to March 2015. What has happened over the past 3 days very quickly is that we got that shooting star on the Dow Jones. We saw a little bit of follow through during Tuesday's trading session, but really on Wednesday, today's trading session, the bottom has fallen out of not only the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but also the S&P 500, a very similar type of chart pattern. You can see that we rallied back up into an all-time high at a resistance level. We pulled back. We then changed the direction of the trend. The minor level, we rallied back up to almost a relative high. And most recently, again, we got the shooting star, the continuation on Tuesday, and then the absolute bottom falling out. A very good price target, at least for these three markets to begin with, is coming back down to this level, or to the most recent swing low level. You can see this on the S&P coming in about 2,040 points. And when I bring this up and have a look at where it is in relation to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's coming in about 17,620. If this level fails, now this is a level which we've been paying attention to for not only now, but it's really been a level for the past 2 weeks. You can still see I've got triggers over here. If this level fails, then this is going to be really healthy for the overall market. We were expecting a larger overall retracement to take place a couple of weeks ago. Very good targets coming down to these primary trend levels, and we just simply didn't see it. Now, the most recent retracement which we saw in these markets was very quick. It was as if people were getting overly eager to buy the dip. And if this does retrace, if we see a really good correction down to these lower levels down here, then this is going to be somewhat healthy for the longer term bull market, which has been in effect since the lows in 2009. So it's no need to get to panic or to freak out at these levels. Yes, we have seen a pretty decent correction, and if we do see continued bearishness, that's okay. It's going to align with a lot of stocks which we follow. What I'll do now is I'll just quickly reference the Nasdaq, because this is the most important market which we were looking at moving into the week. The reason why is because it was the only market which hadn't made that all-time high. We came into the week with a spinning top, or we closed last week with a spinning top, and we threw out a couple of scenarios. Are we just going to simply continue? Is this going to be some form of a continuation gap? Or are we going to fill this gap and ultimately, call it an exhaustion gap? Now, obviously we filled it. We filled it as at Tuesday's trading session. Today, we have absolutely blown right through it, down 118 points on the Nasdaq. Now, we do have an old trend level, which is essentially where we've sold off to, but really the level which you want to pay attention to is this old perspective box, which goes back to the old resistance levels throughout November, December, and also January. So that's a little bit of a market update. A little bit of volatility creeping back into the market. When I have a look at the US dollar, it actually didn't do all too much today, surprisingly. Generally, if you see a sell-off like that, the US dollar gains a lot of strength. And all we have is just a continuation of spinning tops right at this very important support level. So, it's not as if the US dollar is making any tremendous moves as at the close on Wednesday's trading session. So it's just purely price action and speculation driving these markets at the moment. Having a look at some additional trades. Apple's coming to the week with a couple of bearish candlesticks, are very neutral in this overall type of trade. What I've been really looking for, and I'm not in this personally to the downside, is really a level down here, about $120 to get into some long trades on Apple. I think we are going to see that continuation to the downside take place. We did have an open window that has now filled, and Apple is looking very, very weak. Amazon today is some form of a shooting star. It held up pretty good, relative to other stocks. It was only down $3, and a long up wick as well, which is, again, it doesn't really bode well for the continuation or the upward price of Amazon. It was looking some form of a bull flag setting up. Again, it still could be, but given the market's weakness today, it's just not a very nice looking chart at the moment. It's looking a little bit fragile, a little bit broken. Boeing Airlines continuing in the downward move, $3.42. We're still nowhere near any of our triggers on that particular stock, but it was actually gapped down. It's gapped down. I'm not sure if I had a 209.71 bearish trade for the pro class or with individual students, but that is definitely triggered if that was. Again, I'm not in Baidu at the moment. For me, the risk reward wasn't great enough to get into this particular trade, especially when we're drawing very close to the apex. You can see right here. So I'm out on this one. There's not a whole lot of shares that I'm actually in at the moment in the world of trading. Just sort of managing my overall positions, which have sort of brought me into the week. You can see here on Caterpillar, We've got that evening star reversal candlestick pattern. Again, we have what we call a one black crow today. This is very, very bearish for the short-term price of Caterpillar. Expect CAT to come back down to about 78.50. That is a very realistic target, and again, that would be a good buying opportunity, macro buying opportunity on that particular stock. CVX sort of kicked the trend today, didn't it? I mean, it had an inside day candle up $1.47. Markets tanked. CVX did well. Go figure. But still not a decent trade. We're still sort of building structure, which we'll work with over the coming days. FAS, a big down day. 123.81 was my stop. That is being kicked off. Increasing volume. In retrospect, we did actually come back up and hit this old resistance level. So I had my stop up a little bit higher on my actual target. And as such, I didn't get out on a profit on this particular trade. So, I mean, you're always learning in the world of technical analysis. Here we go in Facebook. Facebook has got a very, very nice bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. It is exactly what we have wanted to see. Exactly what we've wanted to see. This has been so overextended since breaking out, mid-March. And it was, I think it had 8 consecutive up days, something like that. Let me just count them. 7 consecutive up days. It was only a matter of time until finally some profit taking was actually taken in Facebook. Today we're down $2.37. Although this is a very, very bearish candlestick, it's not as if I'm looking for a complete reversal on this stock. It does look very, very ominous. It is what we call essentially a bearish engulfing candlestick, even though we closed pretty much down below the lows of Friday's candlestick. Pay attention to this level, 81.83. Don't get in intraday. Wait for the daily candles to form, white candlesticks, and then we'll trade it off from the bounce. I mean, Google today had a big move in the opposite direction. This is what we call a tweezer top. Alright, a tweezer stop. We're still battling with this uptrend, but it sort of negated the breakout which took place yesterday. Pay attention to this downtrend. If we start to break it, I can even move this out a little bit more. You'd have you stop somewhere around the lows of this trend over here. So pay attention to Google. Again, what we call a tweezer top. It's a tweezer top reversal candlestick. Very low volume today compared to the breakout. Look at the volume difference between the breakout and, of course, the dark candlestick today. So, I mean, this could just sort of fizzle out around here before ultimately continuing in the upward move. We'll pay attention to Google very, very closely. GoPro today is just sort of fizzling out, down at these resistance levels, support levels. Not a whole lot to speak about there. IBM pulling back from that resistance level. I do think we are going to hold this level, right? Or even down here at about 157, and then we're going to break to the upside. So pay attention to IBM. Netflix is a promising looking stock. Look at this one, down $16, but we sort of made the argument that this looks immediately like a bear flag. If this is a bear flag, then we are going to continue the downward trend, and we've got some very nice price targets. First at 405, secondly down as low as 382, and then down at 351. These are all very reliable targets and something you need to pay attention to. And today in Tesla had quite a bearish day, $7.42 to the downside. Again, some form of an evening candle or an evening star reversal candlestick pattern, and it looks as if it's going to come back down and retest these support levels about 188. So that's a Wednesday afternoon market recap. Again, quite a bearish day in the market. 292 points on the Dow Jones, down 30 on the S&P, and I think it was about 118 on the Nasdaq. Interesting type of movement. I mean, if you start, or when you start seeing these types of engulfing candlestick patterns, these long day types of reversal patterns, especially when you make these things, such as double tops, it's time to be a little bit cautious on the market, at least looking for longs and managing any longs which you are in, and then sort of moving into the shorts if they are setting up. So I'll leave it at that. Have a great Wednesday evening. I'll see you, probably Thursday for another market update. All the best, traders. Goodbye.